The moving truck rumbled down Harbinger Lane, its headlights cutting through the gathering dusk. It was an old street, lined with ancient oaks that seemed to reach out with gnarled, skeletal fingers. Their branches intertwined over the road, forming a tunnel of shadows. The house sat at the end of the lane, shrouded in an almost tangible silence. The house was a Victorian mansion, 3 stories high with a steep gabled roof and a wide wraparound porch. Its paint was peeling and the once bright colours had faded to a dull grey. The windows, dark and empty, stared out like the eyes of a blind man. As 10-year-old Emma stepped out of the car, a shiver ran down her spine. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, something faintly sweet and unsettling. Her parents, oblivious to her unease, bustled about, directing the movers. Emma's older brother Michael was already inside, his voice echoing from the depths of the house. He was excited about having a basement, a dark and mysterious space that promised adventure. Emma wasn't so sure. The house loomed over them, a silent sentinel guarding its secrets. As the last of the boxes were carried inside, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. Something was watching them, hidden in the shadows of the old house, something ancient and cold. The basement door creaked open, revealing a staircase that descended into darkness. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and dust, heavy and oppressive. A single bare bulb cast a dim light, illuminating cobwebs that hung like ghostly curtains. Emma hesitated at the top of the stairs, her heart pounding in her chest. Michael, fearless as ever, charged ahead, his laughter echoing through the empty rooms. Emma followed cautiously, her hand trailing along the rough stone wall. The floor was cold and damp beneath her feet. The air grew colder as they descended, sending a shiver down Emma's spine. The basement was a labyrinth of shadows and forgotten things. Old furniture draped in dust cloths loomed in the corners like phantoms. Boxes were piled high, their contents a mystery. A musty old trunk sat against one wall, its leather cracked and faded. Emma could hear the scurrying of rats in the walls and the soft dripping of water from somewhere in the darkness. Michael had already disappeared into the gloom, his voice a distant echo. Emma called out to him, her voice small and uncertain. The only answer was the echo of her own voice and the rustling of something unseen in the darkness. Fear, cold and clammy, tightened its grip on Emma's throat. She wanted to turn back, to run upstairs to the safety of sunlight and familiar things. Then she saw it. Tucked away in a corner, half hidden behind a pile of broken furniture, was a doll. It was sitting upright, its porcelain face gleaming in the dim light. Emma, drawn by a strange compulsion, approached cautiously. The doll was beautiful, with rosy cheeks, painted lips curled into a delicate smile, and large blue eyes that seemed to sparkle with life. The doll was wearing a long, faded dress of pale blue silk, its lace trim yellowed with age. Its blonde hair, tied with a matching blue ribbon, fell in soft curls around its shoulders. In its lap, clutched in one tiny porcelain hand, was a small wooden doll. Emma reached out, her fingers brushing against the smooth, cold surface of the doll's cheek. She carefully lifted the doll, surprised by its weight. It was heavier than she expected, as if it were filled with something other than cotton or straw. As she held it closer, Emma noticed that the doll's eyes seemed to follow her every move. It was an unsettling sensation, as if the doll were somehow alive. A thrill of excitement shot through Emma. She had never had a doll like this before. Most of her dolls were made of plastic and felt, their smiles cheerful and vacant. But this doll was different. This doll was special. Emma decided to name her Anya. Emma brought the doll everywhere with her. She took it to breakfast, propped it up on the table while she ate her cereal. She carried it to the living room, positioning it on the sofa beside her as she watched TV. At night, she slept with the doll nestled in the crook of her arm. But strange things began to happen around the house. Footsteps creaked on the stairs at night, slow and deliberate, even though everyone was asleep. Doors opened and closed on their own, slamming shut with a resounding boom that echoed through the empty halls. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls, too faint to make out the words but filled with a chilling malice. Emma's parents dismissed these occurrences as the settling of an old house. But Emma knew better. She knew deep down that something was wrong. The doll, Anya, seemed to be at the center of it all. Wherever Emma went, she could feel the doll's eyes on her, watching her every move. One night, Emma woke to a sound coming from the foot of her bed. She sat up, her heart pounding in her chest. The room was dark, but she could make out the faint outline of Anya sitting on the floor, her blue eyes glowing in the darkness. As Emma watched, the doll's head slowly turned, its gaze fixed on her with an intensity that sent chills down her spine. "Anya?" Emma whispered, her voice trembling. The doll didn't answer. It just sat there, staring at her with those cold blue eyes. Emma wanted to scream, to run out of the room and never look back. But something held her rooted to the spot, a strange mixture of fear and fascination.